Welcome to today's meeting. We're happy to have you here, whether you're joining in person or online. We hope you'll continue to participate in whichever manner you feel the most comfortable. Thank you for being with us. Please join us now for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you again to everyone who's joining us tonight. Before we move through the agenda, I'll explain our updated general comment registration process and remind everyone about the rules of decorum for our council meetings. Individuals may register to comment on scheduled public hearing items until the hearing is closed. For the general comment section, we'll accept signups until 7:30 p.m. The general comment section has been changed to 1 hour. If you're here to give general comments, not everyone who signed up may be able to speak. I'd like to run through our meeting rules. These rules are designed so that we can conduct city business, ensure that the meeting is safe, orderly, and free from intimidation. We will not be giving multiple warnings about following the rules. To keep our reactions from affecting your ability to share your opinion freely, council members refrain from reacting or responding to allow everyone to share their opinions freely. When making your comments, please address the body and not any individual elected official. If you have a handout for the council, please do not approach the dais, raise your hand, and council staff will assist you. Council staff are available during or after the meeting to help with any questions or information sharing. Avoid the use of threatening and discriminatory language. Do not insult others based on religion, ethnicity, race, color, gender, sexual orientation, or physical ability. Whether you agree or disagree with someone's comment, clapping, cheering, shouting, booing, snapping, gesturing, obstructing, or discouraging others from commenting is not allowed. The full meeting rules are listed at the door, and our staff will post the link in the Zoom. This brings us to item A4, approving the work session minutes of July 9th, 2024, as well as the formal meeting minutes of June 11th, 2024, and July 2nd, 2024. I'll look for a motion.
For approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Wharton, a second from Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? That passes unanimously. This brings us to the council public hearing section of our agenda. These are specific proposals before the council that require a public hearing, and your comments need to pertain to the hearing topic. If your comments go off topic, we will ask you to stop. This will serve as your only warning. If you'd like to go to comment on these public hearing items today, we are accepting comments in person and online on Zoom. You can sign up to comment until the hearing is closed. If you need to speak with our staff, please raise your hand in the room or in Zoom, and a staff person will assist you. For those of you on Zoom, our staff person, London Kelly, can assist you with registration issues or technical questions. Taylor Hill on our staff will be calling those who wish to comment based on the order we received names. If you are on Zoom, please unmute your mic when Taylor calls your name. Each person will have 2 minutes, and we will call on each person who has signed up to speak. Just as a reminder, our goal is to create and keep a safe space for everyone to share and participate in the meeting. So please follow our public comment rules when making your remarks. Disruptions or threats to anyone's safety are not allowed. If anyone uses discriminatory language, curses, or a disruption occurs, we will pause your comments to remind you of the rules before you continue. Our first public hearing tonight is item B1, an ordinance for the zoning text amendment to the D1 Central Business District Zone, and B2, an ordinance for the zoning map amendment at approximately 754 South State Street, and it will be heard as one public hearing. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Brian Fulmer, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give a short introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a proposal to amend the zoning map for 10 parcels at approximately 754 South State Street from their current D2 or Downtown Support District zoning to D1 or the Central Business District. The former Sears department store was located on this site. Intermountain Health owns the property and stated they would like to construct an urban hospital on the site. Hospitals are not allowed on either D1 or D2 zoning, and the request also includes a text amendment that would allow hospitals and ambulance services as conditional uses in the D1 zoning district.
Thank you, Brian. We'll now take comments related to this topic. Taylor, please start with our first comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are 7 people registered to speak to these items. The first will be Andrew Marwick, followed by Kelvin R. Fors, and then Isaac Atencio. Andrew, you may now unmute.
Okay, thank you. There is only one deadline that counts, and September 1st isn't it. I could go on for hours with what is wrong with this zoning proposal, so I won't. There are neighborhoods that need revitalization far more. Competing neighborhoods such as Sugar House will be unfairly disadvantaged by this zoning ordinance and sales tax. The legislature can come back next session and establish a new deadline in a year, 2 years, 5 years. There is no consensus. The Plan Commission is opposed to this. They are not on board. Most of the city is not on board. There is not a Bravanov Hall. There is no consensus about a Bravanov Hall.
Sir, this hearing is for the parcel at 754 South State Street.
Yeah, I thought this was the zoning for the Delta Center area.
No, sir. We can, staff, can we make sure that this name gets added to either the other hearing or general comment?
It would be the general comment section.
Thank you. Sorry about that, sir. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Next will be Calvin R. Fors, followed by Isaac Atencio, and then Hong Nguyen. Calvin is here in person.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Calvin Fors. I'm a representative with the Carpenters Union, Local 801 here in Utah. We have a pretty esteemed history of about 140 years of working in this town. So I'm here just to speak on this. This is obviously change. Change is good sometimes. Sometimes it can be bad. It depends on who's doing the work, in my opinion. So I would like to speak in conditional favor, if that's actually allowed, if that's a real thing. Because as much as this would be good to probably support the needs of the citizens in that area with a hospital facility like this, my question would be who's doing the work, how they're getting paid, who's paying the taxes on that payroll. We've spoke a couple times about this in various ways, nothing too confrontational, but I think at this point, with the way of the economy and stuff, this is something that the city council and everybody needs to take into consideration when they're allowing for businesses to come in here and change that. I don't know how that really looks. I don't know what that is. I'm not a councilman. I'm a nail bender, if you know what I mean. But just making sure that these projects, it's to help the city, to support its citizens, but also with the work that's going to be done and the manner in which those people are compensated for their hard labor. So I appreciate your time, and please take those comments under consideration. Thank you.
Next will be Isaac Atencio, followed by Hong Nguyen, and then Darren Piccoli. Isaac is here in person.
Thank you. I'm here with some of my peers representing the Midtown Business District and wanting to kind of just relay some of our thoughts and sentiments as it regards to the rezone. First off, the Midtown Business District is a small district that represents businesses in the area that this is proposed and happening. We've been working fairly tirelessly over the last number of years to champion in this district as an arts and entertainment district, really highlighting the unique businesses that we have in the area. And ultimately, a hospital really does not fall well in line with that vision of what we see for this area. We have been working on and in talks with IHC. They've been attending our meetings over the last couple years or so, trying to really relay our input into this matter. And ultimately, some of the things that we'd like to see are things that have been talked about continuously. Ground level activation, the ability to not lose an entire block in each direction when you're walking down the street to something that isn't uplifting the economy, something that isn't getting money put back right into tax revenue, et cetera. And I'll let kind of my peers kind of talk a little bit more in detail about some of the things that we are looking to see, but ultimately keeping in mind that this area is something that we really envision as a vibrant arts and entertainment area. And while we are excited to have access to the hospital and to get greater access to people of the West Side, et cetera, it is important that we don't lose this block to kind of non-activity.
Next,
Hello, everyone.
Hong Nguyen, followed by Darren Piccoli, and then James Longstaff. Hong is here in person.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hong Nguyen. I am one of the founders and managers of Sapa Investment Group. Sapa Investment Group is the only other business that's located on the same block as the proposed hospital that Intermountain will have there. As a family-owned and operated business, we have invested so much time and resource into building out this area to drive more pedestrian, drive more economic growth to this area. Our initial thoughts when the hospital was coming to the Sears block, we did have some initial hesitations on what that would do to the momentum that not only Sapa, but all these other Midtown business owners have done to create a go-to destination at Midtown. We have had some good conversations with Intermountain over the past few years. With this project moving forward, Sapa is excited to see the hospital come in as long as we can maintain that open line of communication, have some really good, healthy discussions about what they plan to do as they move forward over the next few years. Of course, we are concerned about accessibility and our ability to be able to stay functional on that corner as they develop out over the next few years. But I'm hopeful that Intermountain has stated that they want to stay neighborly with Sapa, and out of that spirit of neighborly, we hope that they will continue to work with us and other Midtown residents to keep the economic momentum that Midtown has built and to make sure that this family-owned and operated business is still viable as they move over the next few years. Thank you.
Next is Darren Piccoli, followed by James Longstaff, and then Margaret Holloway. Darren's here in person.
Hi, thank you, Council. I'm Darren Piccoli. I own the Stateroom, 638 South State Street, so just about a half a block north of the development. Our city is exciting. It's going through a lot of growth, and I think it's going to be an exciting project there on the Sears block. What it seems like to us, a lot of the businesses there, is that it's very important for us to have a community benefit agreement, a development agreement in place to make sure that what we've talked about with IHC over the past several years is actually implemented with true ground street activation, with cross-block walkways, with public space area for passerbys. Excuse me. I think that there's a lot of interesting small business that's within a hospital, right? A cafe, a convenience store, a gym, wellness centers, pharmacies, all of that can be flipped to the public side of the sidewalk. Over the last 2 years, IHC has talked about an urban hospital. I don't really know if any of us know what that is, but when you Google some images, it's not your typical large hospital campus. It has a welcoming front. It's almost, if you're walking down the street, you're not necessarily seeing it. The innards of the block of the hospital is where the meat and potatoes of it is. The green spaces, the places for patients' families to relax or for the public is typically on the outside of the block. So I'm really hoping that within a development agreement, we can look to laying out these ground rules so that 20 years from now, when our downtown is to 900 South, we don't have a block of walls that we're trying to contend with for local businesses. I think some other ideas for the development agreement is being conscious of the sidewalks and making sure that we have plenty of width, plenty of interaction on the street, and not having, again, that wall 6 feet off of State Street and Main Street. Those are our two major thoroughfares of the city.
Next will be James Longstaff, followed by Margaret Holloway. James, you may now unmute.
Hi, I'd like to express my general support for this project. The only one thing I'm concerned about is if with this hospital, I don't really know everything about this, but I don't want to see an overabundance of parking like we see in a lot of hospitals in the valley, especially like, the one in the IHA and CMO. I think it's a lovely hospital, but I would like to see less parking. It takes away from other opportunities we could be using the land. And is there any opportunity in this area to be filled with even more housing and retail than the initial plans? This is a neighborhood that's already emerging as a walkable, movable area. I'm concerned about this hospital taking up so much space that we won't have an opportunity to build the housing the community needs. Could height restrictions be increased, or be relaxed, and also parking minimums relaxed as well, so that we can simultaneously have more housing, retail, and the hospital? I am in general support of this project. I'm just asking these questions, and I acknowledge I don't know everything about the project. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
And next will be Margaret Holloway, who is here in person.
I think if it's designed right, it's going to be a huge success, especially that location with all the extra apartments going in and around. But I do have to say, whenever you guys require, there's so much walkable space, street space, for the apartments that are conditional, they don't fill them because they don't want to fill them. They don't want the liability. They're all sitting empty. I go to these new apartment complexes in the bottom row, there's nothing there. I asked at the District 5, well, you want to do ballpark that way too? Well, they're going to have all these people. Well, who's going to make sure somebody fills those spaces? Because it's private. And so how are you going to enforce them to do that? If there's liability, and you can have gyms, if they're willing to work with the off-street public to do that, it's fantastic. And I think it'll enhance that entire area. But it's the worry of it, what's going to happen, and because we don't know. But I still think it's a good idea if it's designed right. But I know one of the gentlemen, he said he wanted to make sure the taco people were there. Well, you're talking from a taco truck into a building. They have, 4 people versus the liability of a building. That's huge. And he says he was more concerned about making sure they could go in. And it's just the same thing with trying to move the Indian restaurant over to Spark. You're moving from a very low liability issue into a very high liability issue. They may not want to go. But if they can fill them and it can be appropriate, but I see so many of these RDA things that have invested in this, they're not rented because they don't have to. So just rules. Anyways, that's it.
Thank you.
That was the final register commenter for these items.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion.
Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Lopez Chavez, a second from Dugan. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Our last hearing is item B3. It's a grant application for fiscal year 2024 Paul Coverdell Forensic Science Improvement Competitive Grant. Before we begin taking comments, I'll turn the time over to Sylvia Richards, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give a short introduction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The city periodically applies for and receives grants which fund some city programs. Each grant will receive a public hearing, which gives the council and the public an opportunity to learn more about the grants. As mentioned, tonight's grant is the fiscal year 24 Paul Coverdell Science Improvement Grant. If approved, it would provide travel, equipment, access to a subscription and service for the national network that allows for the capture and comparison of ballistic evidence to aid in solving and preventing violent crimes involving firearms. Again, this is an item for which the city has applied. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Sylvia. Taylor, please call our first public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do not have anyone registered to speak to this item.
I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and refer item B3 to a future consent agenda for action.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Dugan and a second from Councilwoman Young. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. This brings us to potential action item section. C1 is the fiscal year 24-25 budget for the Capital Improvement Program. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council approve a resolution adopting the Capital Improvement Program project-specific allocations for fiscal year 2025 as shown on the attached Exhibit A funding log.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Young and a second from Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Our next item, C2, is an ordinance for a request to vacate a portion of 700 South. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council stand by.
C2. We're on item C2.
Oh.
Madam Chair, I move that the council reject the ordinance.
Do I have a second for that motion?
And I just want to be concerned with rejecting this ordinance. This is the one that we would vacate it, and by vacating, then the public utilities would not have. It would be an easement on the vacation. We would not maintain ownership and full rights of it. I just want to confirm that.
The council could adopt with a condition that the easement remain in place, the public utilities easement remain in place, or obviously you can reject the ordinance.
Right, and our public utilities was not in favor of that easement.
That is correct.
Correct. So my motion stands. I move that the council reject the ordinance.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilwoman Young. I would love some discussion on this. Can you justify your motion, Councilmember Dugan? I mean,
yeah.
Sorry, not justify, explain.
Well, just to explain it. So the public utilities was concerned about having an easement on this this property because it's the street and access to their water mains, and so their concern was that with the easement they wouldn't have the full ability to do that, and so they can still have usage of the property of the street, but public utilities would have total control of that land. And I'm just going off the recommendation from public utilities on this piece of property. So there's a short block of street.
Chair, may I add a comment? Thank you. Before we decide, I just want to clarify. You're not in favor of the easement, and so we would not be vacating this street at all.
Correct. The street would be under our control and not in favor of also the easement, correct?
And I just want to clarify once more then, is the goal to vacate the street or to continue maintenance?
The street would continue the maintenance and continue to the responsibility to it, so we would not be vacating it, in which we vacating it would be giving them to the, with an easement, would be giving them the rights to use that property, but we'd have easements on that street.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
I mean, if public utilities it's against, it has a negative position on this easement. I would like to listen to the experts, and I will support the motion as stated.
Any other discussion?
I just am not clear if there is a counter argument as to why we should adopt the ordinance with the easement as opposed to just rejecting the ordinance. It seems like I haven't had time to understand the reason why we wouldn't do the easement, or what if we reject altogether, what that means.
And I think the reason behind the public utilities concern with the easement was still the access to the ground underneath the street with that easement. They wanted to make sure that they had full control of it without that having anything else above that or anything above that to limit them the ability to get to their systems underneath the ground. I guess. And so they were not in favor of it, and they did not recommend that we would vacate it with an easement.
If it's all right, Madam Chair, I'll propose an alternate motion that we defer action to a future date so that we can get some more information on that.
I have a substitute motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a substitute motion from Councilmember Mono and a second from Councilwoman Lopez Chavez. Is there any discussion on the substitute motion?
I understand the question. So because there's some concern, I'm okay with doing a deferment, but so we can have.
We'll vote first then on the substitute motion. Should it fail, then we'll vote on the original. If it passes, then we're done. All right. So all of those in favor of deferring action to a future meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes unanimously.
Yeah, I thought everyone wanted to vacate that.
The next item is C3, an ordinance for projecting business signs zoning text amendment. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilperson Mono and a second from Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Our next item, C4, is an ordinance for a zoning text amendment to allow single-family attached dwellings in select commercial zones. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui and a second from Councilwoman Young. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Our final item is C5, the ordinance for the Sports, Entertainment, Culture, and Convention District text amendment. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Young and a second from Councilmember Horton. Any discussion? All right, then I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. All right, so this brings us to our comment section. First of all, we are so thankful to have the Mayor's Chief of Staff, Rachel Otto, here, and Megan. Thank you all. Thank you both for being here. Council, any questions for the mayor or her staff? Thank you for being here with us. All right, now we're at the general comment portion of our agenda. Now is when we are stopping to take registration. It's 7:30, so we'll stop taking registration. General comment period will last for 1 hour. If you missed your chance to sign up, please raise your hand and staff will deliver you a comment card where you can give us your comment in written form. Please raise your hand if you have any other issues and our staff will assist you. Before we begin taking comments, we'd like to emphasize our rules that any behavior that is threatening, disruptive, or creates an unsafe environment will not be tolerated. When we are not able to maintain rules, we've had members of the public feel intimidated and leave the meeting. So if any of the rules are not being followed, we'll ask staff to assist you out of the meeting. If the standard is not being observed, we'll call a recess. As a reminder, for those of you joining in Zoom, London Kelly from our staff will moderate our Zoom and message you with any questions about your registration. If you need assistance, raise your hand and select London from the list of participants. Please limit your messages to technical issues and minimal information updates. Taylor Hill on our staff will be calling those who wish to comment in the order of registration or collected comment cards. If you're on Zoom, please unmute your mic when Taylor calls your name. If you are in person, please feel free to come up and stand in line when you hear your name called. Please avoid interruptions so that we can have as many people speak during the hour. The host will announce time at the 2-minute mark, and your microphone will be muted. If you're unable to finish your comment, please share the rest via email, mail, or call our office. Contact information is listed at slccouncil.com. Please remember to follow our public comment rules when making your remarks. If anyone uses discriminatory language, curses, or disrupts the meeting, we will pause your comments to remind you about the rules before you continue. When making your comments, please direct them to the body, not to any single elected official. Our goal is to maintain a safe and orderly meeting and to hear from as many of you as possible over the next hour. Taylor, you may begin with our first commenter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have about 8 people registered for general comment. The first will be Richard Pershan, followed by Bruce Marcosian, and then Keiko Jones. Richard is here in person.
Anyone there? Anyone? Taylor, maybe let's put that one at the end and try to call that name again. Did you not hear, sir? What was the name, Taylor? Richard?
Yes.
Richard, is that you? Okay, it's your turn, sir.
Madam Chair, I cannot hear.
Just one moment, sir. I don't know that your microphone is on. Can you speak closer to the microphone so we can hear you better? Closer to the microphone.
Nope.
Oh,
It's not the mic.
Is there a volume issue?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay.
that's better.
There
Thank
we
you.
go.
Yes, thank you. Now you know what it's like not to be able to hear. I said my father and his brothers immigrated to Utah from Germany, and he bought property in Salt Lake City in 1918. I consequently still own this family property and have owned it for more than 42 years. When they came, I don't remember exactly what year they bought some cemetery plots in Salt Lake City Cemetery. And my father planted a weeping birch tree at the foot of his grave. Over the years, that tree was saved by the backhoe from the city cemetery and trying to access preparing graves, broke off most of the branches of that tree. There was one branch that was still alive. When the big wind came through the valley and blew over a lot of trees in the city cemetery, this tree was marked for removal. And they just cut it down and left the stump. This was basically the petition I have here. I don't know who to give it to or what to do with it. Is a request for a variance for a headstone that will help the family find and identify this family plot. I have 12 children, and my wife and I and a handicapped daughter will be buried in the last 3 sections of that cemetery. So I have a picture of a headstone that I have designed that I would like to erect on that cemetery plot so that the family can identify where the family plot is. And that's basically what I'd like to do. And thank you for your time, and appreciate being able to address you.
Taylor, can we call the next commenter? Did we lose Taylor?
I think we might have just a second. It looks like whoever's running the time is frozen. So
1 second, sir.
just a second. Maybe while we're figuring out the tech issues, I can start a timer. Oh, Councilmember Pui can't hear. So maybe we should pause. I think the Zoom might be frozen. Madam Chair, would you like to proceed without Councilmember Pui joining, or do you want to pause while the Zoom issues are fixed so he can hear the comments?
Can I offer to put him on FaceTime?
Sure.
Is that acceptable, lawyer?
Sure.
I'm going to call him and put him on FaceTime so we can.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a follow-up? Are people able to hear us online if we continue without
I
Zoom?
don't think so, because I think that Councilmember Pui cannot hear online.
Let me just give him the option to join.
You can't hear.
Hey, the technology needs a minute. Do you want to be on my phone with me, listening to comments here in person until it gets back up?
We do have most of the commenters remaining, with the exception of a handful, are here in person.
We do, most of our commenters are here in person, Jen was just saying. So do you want to just be on the phone until that gets back up and running? And we'll just take the in-person comments first. The technology should just need a few minutes, correct? Cindy Lou's telling us just a few minutes.
Okay, we will pause for 2 minutes. I am hearing that people are able to hear on Facebook and on YouTube, but the participants who joined on Zoom won't be able to participate in the meeting. So we can give it 2 minutes and then
Okay, we're going to give it 2 minutes. Call back. Want to join it?
That's weird.
All right, thank you. Sorry, we appreciate your patience.
Oh, yeah.
Technology makes life really easy, doesn't it? Do you have any dance prepared? We would take a poem recitation. Any poems to recite, you know? He needs to be able to hear. Well, then you want him to hear because he's really good at advocating for issues.
Business. We just do business.
We just interrupt her. Where do we go tell her?
Tell her.
He's not skipping. He has COVID. We don't want him to be here.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
we have just reconnected the Zoom.
we're back. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you for your patience. Sir, if you would care to go. Could you tell us your name?
Sure. My name is Bruce Markosian, and I'm here about the stabilization fees. I'm sure you've all heard about this. I've sent several emails in the last couple of weeks about the issue. I have a property at 1103 South, 700 West, that when we bought it had 3 water meters. And one of those water meters we have never, ever used. Turns out that water meter is always a 3-inch line. And when the stabilization fees went into effect, our monthly service bill of $85 jumped to over $800. So we're faced with the dilemma of either paying an $800 a month useless service charge or having the service removed, which would cost us, because of the size of the meter and the complexity of it, about $15,000 to remove the service. So I've been working with LaHua for the last couple of weeks. She's been very, very responsive, very, very helpful. But she's unable to give me a time frame as to when I will know, what my chances are of getting this reduced. I either have to find out soon, or I have to bite the bullet and get this service line removed. So I'm just here to ask you to try to do whatever you can do to make that happen. Give me a direction one way or the other so I know what to do. I originally talked to the water department. They said, you guys are responsible for this stabilization fee, and so I'm asking you to help me out. Thank you.
Next will be Keiko Jones, followed by Margaret Holloway, and then Phil Carroll. Keiko is here in person.
Good evening, I'm Keiko. I've come tonight with the voice of many residents, especially from West Side, to oppose the proposed additional salary increase for the City Council. You just received a 26% raise, and some of you want more. It seems ungrateful and greedy, considering the struggles of your constituents with raised taxes and utilities who didn't get that kind of huge adjustments, including other city employees who received a 5% raise. Maybe some of you ran for office for money and power, but you are underestimating other people's desire to serve their communities. Remember the election maybe 3 years ago for districts 1 and 2. I can't think of anyone among the candidates who had a personal wealth. In fact, most of them were and are still involved with local community organizations, giving their time and work for free. I have talked to many residents, and some people didn't even know who you are. Obviously, there are many constituents you haven't reached after years in office. Don't be a frog in a well. The fact they are not speaking up doesn't mean they agree with you. If you were to detach your salary from mayors, there needs to be a committee without any conflict of interest that will decide your salary. It's an abuse of power for you to give yourselves whatever you want. It's ridiculous. Chris, Dan, and Sarah, thank you for standing up for your constituents and not
Thank you for not addressing any individual elected officials.
Next will be Margaret Holloway, followed by Phil Carroll, and then Dirk Clam. Margaret is here in person.
I want to thank you for the city giving $250 for those grants to help grow food. I'm supporting 6 families with the produce, and it's a lot of hard work, believe me. I'm trying to divvy it out, so I do appreciate that. That has really helped out a lot, especially with the water going up. But I'm here again about the pay. We weren't told. The city councils and the city community council meetings were not told. The only reason we found out was a leak. And we were outraged. We called and we're like, what the heck is going on? Because they already adjusted the mayor's, and with all these other fees going up, the city tax going up, it's like, no, this is a bad year. And they'll say, well, okay, we all work hard. It's hard for us to see that because we only have one district. We don't know what the other district people are doing. My boss is on the South Jordan, and he says they have regulations they have to go by. If they want more money, they have to go out, and the mayor can't just get more money. They have to do certain things in order to get more money. So I think if there's regulations and they want more money, and I know it's probably not just about the money, but it really is, because it's such a huge jump. It was not brought before the community councils, and so everybody was like, whoa, wait a minute, nobody knew. And it's just like underdog. I guess maybe you didn't want anybody to know that it was just going to go ahead. And to me, that's not right. That's not what we elected people to do. And about the utilities, the utility department came. She did not mention anything about a raise in the prices. In fact, she said she was trying to talk the city out of raising the rates. So that was also a sideline. Bam, we got hit with that. And then Rocky Mountain's going to come, the county's going to come, the school bond's going to come. It was a bad year for you guys to even do this because it's not like you were up front. And you had time to be up front over this.
Next will be Phil Carroll, followed by Dirk Lamb, and then Andrew Marwick. Phil is here in person.
My name is Phil Carroll. I live in the Avenues, and I'm here to support in support of the CIP application. This may be a moot issue. It's already passed, but I will make my little pitch anyway. There are few cities in the world where you can walk from downtown, the center of the city, to a near wilderness area in less than 30 minutes, passing through a historical district and through a reverent memorial park honoring those who have served our country. For more than 25 years, even before the tornado, there's been a community partnership with the Salt Lake City Parks Department in an event called the Memory Grove Cleanup, the second Saturday of every May, which between 150 and 250 volunteers work in the park. This partnership, not only with the Parks Department, is with the Greater Avenues Community Council, Ensign Steak, and LDS Hospital. They've been very generous with providing the lunch for all the participants. And just at their earlier comments, the LDS Hospital has been an excellent partner and neighbor in the Avenues for many years. The community has demonstrated its commitment to Memory Grove and asked for your Salt Lake City councils to support the CIP application to provide much needed management and restoration, maintenance and restoration of the park's facilities and monuments. In addition, it's important to establish a plan for the preservation of the Canyon Road and Memory Grove. This will provide priorities for future.
Thank you, sir. We would love to hear all of your thoughts if you'd like to submit them in writing. Thank you.
Next will be Dirk Lamb, followed by Andrew Marwick, and then James Longstaff. Dirk is here in person.
Hi. Yeah, I'm just here to voice my enthusiastic support for the Rio Grande project and the Green Loop and any sort of project that's going to reduce the amount of asphalt we have in the city and take space from cars and give it back to people, back to the land. I like trains, I like buses, I like bikes. More of those, please. Thank you.
And next will be Andrew Marwick, followed by James Longstaff. Andrew, you may now unmute.
Thank you. Getting back to where I was. There is no consensus. The Plan Commission is not on board with the rezoning of the Delta Center area. most residents of the city have not spoken on this. And for example, who spoke in favor of putting up a 600-foot building? They would be almost as tall as the tallest buildings in Denver. Way out of place in Salt Lake City. As I said, this is something that should take years. Something of this scale should take years to get it right. Abravanel Hall, a lot of people are opposed to impacting Abravanel Hall. As far as east-west connectivity, the entire west side has been isolated, first by the railroad tracks, then by I-15, then by the widening of I-15. The west side needs a lot more effort in terms of revitalization and connectivity with the rest of the city than the Delta Center area. There's other revitalization opportunities that are likely to materialize. There's already a lot of development near the Power District. The Power District is a much more in need of revitalization. As far as deadlines, there's only one deadline that really matters, and that's February 2034. These other deadlines were arbitrarily set by the state legislature. And as far as Glendale, Arizona, in 2001, Glendale, Arizona, very quickly and without debate, approved unanimously a development and agreement with the Coyotes, same hockey franchise, and they really have regretted it in Glendale, Arizona. And Arizona, nobody in Arizona was willing to take them. Thank you.
Next will be James Longstaff. James, you may now unmute.
Hello, Council. I would like to express my support for the Rio Grande Plan. Salt Lake County has already voted in support of this plan and this project. The Rio Grande Plan promises to better bridge the east-west divide by separating the road from freight rail and passenger rail. This grade separation will improve rail reliability for the entire train network. Another thing that I like about the Rio Grande Plan is that I like how it's connected to the green loop that is planned. The land the Rio Grande plan, the land the Rio Grande Plan will open up. It will be able to be used for housing in a community right on top of the green loop. If you're concerned about the cost of the Rio Grande Plan, the Department of Transportation in Washington will be more likely to fund or help find funding for the Rio Grande Plan if the Salt Lake City Council has voted in support for it. We're preparing for the Olympics in 2034, and rail reliability will be an excellent way of welcoming the world to Salt Lake City. And I also, I commented this in the past, and I also support, the housing that is going to be built with increased heights at the entertainment district, because we definitely need more housing, and housing's still too expensive for people in my generation and younger. And so by building more housing, either at the land that the Rio Grande Plan will open up, or even in that really large tower, the 600-foot tower, that's definitely something that's going to disproportionately help the affordability for people younger than 40 years old like me. So that's all I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
That was the final registered commenter.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone who spent their time coming here to give comments. Councilmember Dugan, did you want a moment? Or Councilmember Mono?
Madam Chair, let's see, hold on one moment. This is in relation to item
C2.
C2. Having voted on the prevailing side of the original successful motion, I move that the council now reconsider our action earlier tonight relative to an ordinance to vacate a portion of 700 South.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Mono. I have a second from Councilmember Horton. Is there any discussion on this?
I just want to say thank you, Councilmember Dugan, for remembering this and for reminding the rest of us what we talked about. It's one of those things that we talked about several weeks ago, and I just forgot what we were doing, and so it seemed like we needed to be reminded. But thank you for doing that, for remembering that originally. So that's why I'm moving to reconsider that original vote.
Does our lawyer need to chime in?
I think that it would be appropriate for you all to vote on the reconsideration
first.
And then I have a clarification on what what will happen when you vote on the second motion?
Thank you. So let's start with that first one. I have a motion to reconsider. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. So then the second part.
Madam Chair, I move that the council reject the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dugan and a second from Councilwoman Young. Any discussion?
Go ahead, council member.
So I just want to remind everybody from the staff report and from the reason for the motion to reject. I was not clear on my motion to reject there, but from the staff report and from Public Utilities, once the street is vacated and no longer owned by the city, there could be use and development of the property that affects the underground utilities and makes access difficult even with an easement. So that was why Public Utilities is not
Thank you.
recommending the vacation.
I'm very glad you were here today.
So that's my motion.
I just wanted to clarify that if the city rejects the ordinance, the city retains ownership of that piece of property, and it still has the right to convey easements over the surface for other property owners, but it is retaining ownership and control of the full property.
Thank you. Any other clarification or discussion council members need for this? Then, yes, sir.
I was just going to say, in the same vein, Katie, could the property owner then initiate a second petition to vacate the portion that does not have utilities under it? But that would be a whole separate petition, right?
It would be a whole separate petition, and I'd have to look at what exactly that property is and whether or not that would be possible. But for now, the city is retaining full ownership
Of the full property. Great.
Correct.
Everyone at peace?
Yes.
All right, then I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you for your help, Councilmember Dugan, and thank you, staff, for the quick help with getting us back on track there. All right, now this brings us to the part of the meeting that I'm most excited about, which is our new business. We get to be the council that gets to give advice and consent for the appointment of our Salt Lake City Council Executive Director, and we would like to advise and consent on Miss Jennifer Bruno. I will look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve and celebrate Jennifer Bruno as the new executive director of the Salt Lake City Council.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Wharton, a second from Councilmember Pui. Is there discussion on this? And there should be.
Yes.
So let's go in district order. We will start with 2. Councilmember Pui.
No, I just I cannot think of anybody more prepared and just incredible for the position, and I am incredibly humbled to have this opportunity, not only for the benefit of us and the city, for the increased amount of work that we do, for the dozens and dozens of meetings that we go every week, that they're not in public eye, that we get assistance from Jennifer's expertise and knowledge, for the many mistakes that she saved us from doing, for the many incredible pieces of knowledge and history she retains, for the amount of inspiration she gives me every day to keep on working even when it's hard. So I'm very humbled to be working alongside you. So I cannot think of anybody more prepared for this job.
Thank you, Councilmember Pui. Councilmember Wharton.
Thank you. So I hope we're gonna be able to also talk another night about Cindy Gus Jensen, but tonight
her retirement is not happening yet, so this is the Jen Show.
That's right, and so I just want to be clear. Yes, this is the Jen Show. You've tuned in to the correct channel. and that this job on the council is it's a lot of work, to say the least. It will take all of the time and all of the energy that you're willing to give it and more. But we don't do this job alone as council members. We have, in addition to our colleagues and in addition to all of the great departments that we have in the city, we have an office of about 50 of the absolute best analysts, communications professionals, managers, interns, and all of our staff that just the best team ever assembled, probably in the history of the world, easily in the history of this city. And there really is no better person that can take over leading that fantastic team than Jennifer Bruno. I am at a time when so many people are like, oh, all these people moving to Salt Lake from California. Like, we are so lucky to have Jennifer Bruno come to us with not only the education that she brings, but the expertise that she brings, and choosing to come here and make Salt Lake City her home, and choosing to make City Hall her place of work and her second home. We are incredibly fortunate, and as Councilmember Pui said, like, it is humbling to be able to work with such talented people every single day. And again, I know that we're going to be in such good hands with Jennifer Bruno. I have every confidence in her, and I just want to thank you for already giving us 20 years of service. I want to thank you in advance for another 20 years. And that seems to be kind of the exchange. So you're stuck with us, and yes, we're so appreciative, and it's an honor really to be here and to be one of the people that gets to vote to confirm your position. Thank you.
Chris, I think you're scaring her.
Councilmember Horton makes it sound like you're all signing the contract. Councilwoman Lopez Chavez.
Congratulations, first and foremost, Jen. And thank you for already in just 7 months, a short shy 7 months, for taking every idea with me and for considering it and for helping me hone it and make it better. I think there's very few people in the city that I look up to, that I think of, that are perpetuating justice, are undoing the inequities, and are very thoughtful about leaving their footprint behind. I'm reading the biography of Hamilton, and in many ways, I think of you, Jennifer. I do. I think of you. You're scrappy, you're witty, you're educated, you have the knowledge and the experience. And I'm excited as we see future cohorts take on our positions of leadership in the future to know that you'll be there to guide them and to take them by the hand just like you took me. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I hope I don't drive you crazy the next 3.5 years. Congratulations.
Councilmember Mano.
Jennifer, congratulations. This is very, very well deserved. 20 years of service, a brain that understands taxes and budget better than I think any other person I can think of, someone that remembers things that have happened from past councils and helps teach the current council those lessons learned in the past. But your most important qualification is that you studied architecture. So thank you for bringing design, understanding, and city knowledge to this role. But no, seriously, congratulations. Very well deserved.
Councilmember Dugan.
Jennifer, it's been an honor to work with you for the last 3 years. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I love your sage advice and the way you continuously remind me, re-educate me on subjects, simplify them to my level, which is difficult, and that you always have that smile every day, even when the hard days are coming. So I appreciate everything you've done for the council, and just personally me, because it's wonderful to bounce things off you, and you've got to give it to me straight. And that's so much appreciated, and I'm grateful for your work, and I look forward to the ongoing years. Thanks.
Councilwoman Young.
Yes, congratulations. I think for us, just as much as you, in the fact that we have you assuming this important role, we're so fortunate to have your expertise. I think the thing that I'll call out that impresses me most is that whether you're talking about a legislative change that is going to impact every single resident or in the entire city, or we're talking about an issue that impacts one resident, you do it with the same passion, the same professionalism, and you always come to the table with solutions, regardless of the scale of the program, because it's important to you. One of the things I've learned being here in the time that I have is that this place is like a family, and I think about the care and attention that you show your family. And so I know that we are trusting our family to the right person. So thank you.
Before I get to take the pleasure of being the chair and getting to have the last word, I do want to acknowledge that former Councilwoman Ana Valdemoros is with us, and if it were appropriate for her to speak, she would go on for several minutes. And we also have the executive director of the Utah League of Cities and Towns, whose own work has been enhanced. I know I've been in a few of those meetings. There is no person speaking on infrastructure districts better than Jennifer Bruno. And so I know your job has been made better by Jen's presence as well, and you would testify to the same thing. When I got here, I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I'm a nonprofit professional, so I've never had support in any professional role. So to arrive here and to have not just support, but support from the most insightful, brilliant, it's not just your education. You apply experience, you apply passion. You care not just for the black and white of the job like Sarah was describing. You care for every minute experience that's going on in our staff. You read the room and you nurture our assets, whether that's a human resource or a physical asset, or just helping us stand in headwinds when we're trying to make changes in the city that cause people to call us names. The number of times you've been in the room when I was crying because I don't know why I'm doing this. Your resource as both, I don't know what question I could ask you that you wouldn't have actual good data and knowledge on, or instantaneous access to that data and knowledge, but also the emotional intelligence to be able to read. I think as someone who works organizationally, I work with nonprofit orgs, to watch a succession plan where not only has it been in place for so long, but the qualifications of the person have only grown exponentially during the waiting process, and the support around you is so magnificent from the other people who have been serving alongside you. I am so thrilled to be the person who gets to take the vote that puts you in this place that you've rightfully earned, and to say thank you to the staff that's going to continue to stand with you and continue this tradition of excellence. We know we have a decade, at least, of things coming at us at a pace that isn't really feasible, if this year's anything to judge by. I'm so thankful that you're at the helm. Whether or not I choose to run for a second term, knowing that you are influencing the decisions that are shaping the place where my kids go to school, where we're going to be raising grandkids, that allows me to rest a little easier. And we're gonna have to stop calling you a wet blanket, because enough of your things have come to pass that you are actually just an oracle. So I'm so thrilled that I get to be here and that we get to be the body that rightfully elevates you to the place that you belong. So thank you so much for everything, and sorry for what we're about to put you through this next decade. So we have a motion on the floor to approve Jennifer Bruno to the position of Council Executive Director. I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It doesn't matter if you're opposed, you don't count. That is unanimous. Jennifer, welcome and thank you. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you. Those were very, very kind, somewhat very undeserved words, especially Hamilton. Geez, big shoes. But I really am grateful and honored. And I think my gratitude is centered on all of the people who've been through this building, who have taught me everything about what it means to have a good, responsive, transparent government, regardless of how the policies change and the priorities change. And council members have been part of that education for me, former council members, current council members. And I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Cindy Gus Jensen. So sorry to get choked up, but I need to thank her. And just so grateful for her incredible brain. Also wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for Lehua Weaver. And I need to thank her as my gut check and my rock. So I totally concur with you and several council members that we do have the most incredible team. And I've told several people that it's that team that makes me not super nervous about stepping into this position, because I know the talent that I'm surrounded by, not just in our office, but on the administrative side. So I'm really excited to keep working with you guys and help you achieve your goals. And just thank you so much and for the kind words. Very unnecessary, but very appreciated. Oh, and thanks to my family, who I think are watching, hopefully going to bed soon.
Go to bed. Don't make her come home and yell at you. All right. That was a really fun detour, guys. Thanks. All right. This brings us now then to the consent portion of our agenda. I'll look for a motion.
Approval.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Pui and a second from Councilmember Wharton. Any discussion?
Chair.
Councilmember Mono.
Do we need to remove the one appointee that did not show up?
Thank you. Thank you. We need to remove the appointment to the Sisters Cities Board, Jane Kim. She will not be included on this consent agenda. Thank you.
removed.
So do you accept the amended?
Yes.
Councilmember Pui, you accept the amended motion? All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.